Right now you're listening to me on the Hollyland Lark M2, which has been out for a while. This is not a new wireless mic system, but it has become one of the most popular and accessible wireless mic options around. I've never used it before, but I gotta say, the popularity of the Lark did spark my curiosity, so when a recent sale price hit the mark, I decided to see for myself why everyone seems to love it. And a big thing I've noticed with this system is that I've seen so many people use it who don't seem to be audio video nerds like me. They don't seem to be people who have backgrounds in video production or audio production or any of that. They're just like normal people who wanted good audio and good wireless audio. And whenever I watch videos or whatever from those people using this system, they sound really great. And obviously, like most 2.4 gigahertz wireless systems are supposed to be simple to use. That's kind of their whole point. They take something like wireless audio, which is typically very complicated and expensive, and they make it simple and affordable. And that's kind of the sweet spot of these things. But the fact that so many people have been able to get really great results seemingly without any prior experience really did catch my eye. And just to clarify, I have seen pro users use this too. So it doesn't mean that you can't use it professionally, but a pro user with all that experience, I feel like can make anything sound good. So the thing that I'm really interested here is the fact that it can easily sound good when used by someone who's not a pro and someone with no prior experience. And I do have to say, now that I have the Lark, I 100% get it. I totally understand why this is such a popular choice. So let's quickly run through some of the key features. Starting with the price, there are a few different configurations. You can get a version that's USB only, you can get a Lightning version, you can get a camera version, or you can get a combo that kind of has everything. That's the one I ended up getting. The MSRP on those ranges from $139 to $179, but I have seen this go on sale a lot, and that's what I just waited. I got the combo version that has everything and just waited for it to go on sale. And I got the white one because I have several other mic systems and they're all black, and I figured I just really like the way the white one looks here, even though it might be a little less discreet. I have the white transmitter here. It has a black front on it. We'll kind of talk about that design in a little bit. But obviously, if you're doing weddings or something and you want white to put on a wedding dress, this makes a lot of sense. It also just looks really nice. So, I don't know. Just get what you want. Now, as you probably noticed, this is a super compact small system. I recently did a video comparing some other bigger 2.4 gigahertz systems, and this is way more compact than those. I am missing one of the transmitters and the receiver because I'm using those right now, so that's why they're not in the case. But this is a really tiny system, and it was one of, if not the first, ultra compact system. Like, look at how tiny this transmitter is. I purposely wore a lightweight shirt as well, so you can see it's not pulling my shirt down. A lot of other systems that are a little bit bigger, if you clip them on, they really start to pull and tug at shirt collars, and they make things look a little funky. If you're wearing a thick sweater or something, it doesn't matter. But this is so lightweight, you can wear it on lighter clothing, lighter t-shirts, and it doesn't get in the way. It's just super simple, super compact. I just kind of randomly pinned it to the middle of my chest because, again, that's kind of what the average person is going to do. And I want you to hear what this sounds like and how it works the way that a normal person would use it. Now, I did mention that I got the combo version, so a lot of things are included with that. They all come in this little pouch here. It's not quite as slick as like the DJI Mic 2 or anything like that, but you get these here, these receivers, which one is Lightning and one is USB-C. And these are great because the Lightning one, I still have an iPhone that has Lightning, so this makes it super easy to use it with my phone. But also USB-C is great because you can use it with a computer really easily, or a tablet that has USB-C, or if I upgrade to a new phone at some point that has USB-C, then I could do that as well. You get windscreens, which we're gonna talk about later because they're a little goofy. Of course, you get cables and stuff, but you get some other kind of interesting things. Let's see here. So by default, the transmitter has the little magnet attached to it, and this is how it fits in the charging case, but it does come with a clip that is also magnetic, so I can just clip that on there, and now you can just put this on somebody's, oh my God, there's a lot of spring in that clip. You can put this clip on somebody's collar really easily or something like that. And then they also give you these little necklaces, which are really cool as well. Again, just magnets, so you can just attach that right there, and then this is a necklace that you can wear around your neck, which is really cool if you're not trying to conceal the microphone. Sometimes you really want to conceal the mic, but other times you don't, and it doesn't matter. Or you're doing something like you need to quickly interview a whole bunch of people and you don't want to deal with clipping things to their clothes or running things under their clothes or whatever, and you can just give them a little like necklace to put on and you're done. So the fact that they really lean into this super compact, super, adaptable form factor, I think is really cool, and it's definitely one of the things that makes this system stand out. It stands out because it's outstanding. All right, there's also noise cancellation built right in, which is very cool, and most 2.4 gigahertz systems have some kind of noise cancellation. I'm gonna test this out later, but just know that when it comes to noise cancellation, that's another thing that has the potential to be really complicated, but they've made it really simple on here. It's just the push of a button and you can easily tell when it's on or off. We'll test it outside in just a little bit. You've got some good battery life. You've got 10 hours of battery, which is something I was really curious about because these transmitters are so small. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a very, very short battery life. 10 hours is pretty good, and then the charging case gives you at least 2 full charges from that. So if you drain the system, the transmitters and the receiver, you put them in here, it can fully recharge them twice on a single charge. And there is also a Lark Sound app for monitoring and adjustments and stuff. Personally, I don't like using apps like that for things like this, especially something that's geared towards simplicity. The last thing I want to do is have to install like a proprietary app that I have to turn on and connect and deal with on my phone. Like, to me, that takes away from the simplicity, so I'm definitely not a fan. I will say the app, while pretty basic, is probably the best way to install firmware updates because it lets you easily install, like, for the receivers and the transmitters and stuff, lets you kind of update everything all at once. You can do it through your computer and things as well, but using the app, I think, is just the simplest way. So I have the app on my phone pretty much only for firmware updates, which there aren't a ton. This isn't like a Rode mic that's gonna get updates all the time. I think they've had like 1 or 2 updates since it came out. So it's not something you're gonna have to do all the time. And then you do also get this sticker sheet. You get a sheet of stickers, which is actually very cool because something I've complained about many times on different products are that they have logos all over them that become really distracting on camera, especially when it's, like white text on a black product. It stands out like crazy. So what Hollyland did here is they gave you the option to go in 2 different directions. They gave you these kind of like goofy stickers if you really want the transmitter to stand out, like you don't care that people see that there's a microphone and you just kind of want to be goofy and have fun with it. I love that. I love that they leaned into that. But they also went the more practical route and then gave you black and white stickers as well, specifically to cover up the logo on the transmitters. So the one I'm wearing right now is what it looks like by default. It's got kind of the gray Hollyland logo on the black background, even though this is the white transmitter. And something I did here was I just put one of the black stickers on there to cover up the logo. So now I have the white transmitter with a black sticker. And that way I can use this one. It's gonna blend in a lot more. Even though the white still stands out, I tend to wear more dark stuff. So black made sense. But I could also put this white sticker on here, and then if I were wearing white clothing or just put it on my pale skin, it would really disappear and camouflage quite nicely. So that's everything you get with the system, but let's go outside and dive into some more specifics and also put it to the test a little bit. So now that I'm outside testing this, let's talk about what makes this system different from some of the other ones, which also leads into why it is so much less expensive, so much cheaper than some of the other ones. You are missing out on some advanced features. There's no internal recording. So right now I'm actually using a 70 to 200, so I'm kind of far away from the camera. I'm probably, 15 feet away from the camera, almost 4 meters away from the camera. And this is still nice direct line of sight, way less than the 300 meter range of the system, but because there's no internal recording and because this does rely on line of sight, and I'm sure I could go over here and things are okay, but I'm gonna come back over here and stand here. You probably wanna make sure that you're relatively close to the receiver and also in direct line of sight to make sure that you don't mess up your audio because you have no backup recording. So all the other high-end systems, the Rodes, the DJIs, all that, they can do internal recording. This one cannot. That also means there's no 32-bit float option, of course, because there's no internal recording. It also means you do not really have much advanced controls on the receiver. On things like the DJI especially, but all of them, the Rode, the Sennheiser, the Saramonic, you can go in on the receiver itself and change a lot of settings. They have nice little LCD screens screens, and a lot of them are touch screens that you can go in and adjust things. This just has a couple buttons, which is really nice for simplicity, but is a little limiting if you want to dial in some of those more specific features. And since these receivers are so small, you do not have the option to attach an external lavalier microphone. These ones are so tiny that they basically are the lavalier microphones. But again, all of those other systems, you can plug in a 3.5mm cable and attach a lavalier mic. So that means that if you know you need some of those features, you need a lavalier mic, you need backup recording, you need in-depth controls right on the receiver itself, this is not the system to get. Do not get this system. If you know that you don't need any of the things, you'll never use them and they don't affect your workflow at all, then this could be a great choice because it's like half-ish the price of some of those other systems. And that's really the whole point, right? That's what this is setting out to do, is to be a small, affordable, simple way to get higher quality audio at a relatively affordable price. And I think that it does succeed in that. I am outside. It's not super loud. There's some birds, a couple dogs, nothing crazy, but we can test noise cancellation a little bit. So I do not have noise cancellation turned on, and I can push the button and now I do have noise cancellation turned on. Actually, I just have an idea. So I've turned noise canceling back off, and now I have my assistant here, the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, which makes a lot of noise. So maybe this is a good test. If I turn noise cancellation on, now I'm moving this little loud fan around. Can you hear my voice better than if I turn noise cancellation off? Now this is no noise cancellation. Can you hear this more? Is my voice more mixed in? Let's try that one more time. This is no noise cancellation. Pressing the button, now this is noise cancellation while I have this little thing going right here. This is very scientific. Now the other stylish option is this right here, which is the included windscreen. Now I bought the white system, so I have this white puffy windscreen. This is maybe where the Lark misses the mark a little bit. So noise cancellation is good for things like background noise, traffic, people, crowds, all that kind of stuff. But if you're in a windy environment, which I'm not right now, it's not windy today, but if you are and you want to use a windscreen to eliminate some of that wind rumble, it does include windscreens, which is what I'm using right now. This is not ideal. This does everything to undo the discreteness of this system and makes it really stand out, especially because I got the white one, so it's real poofy here. I've heard people call this a sea urchin, and I completely see why they would do that, because it is very, very distracting. It works. It's a good windscreen. It's going to reduce that, but it does take away the discrete smallness of the system. And it also makes it a little tricky because you cannot tell which side is up. So you have to be very careful when you put this on the transmitter that you don't actually then put the transmitter on like upside down or something like that. And you also now, I cannot see the noise cancellation button, whether it's on or off. I could look over way over there on the receiver. From here, I can't see. So I have to walk over and check it or have someone tell me. So it solves the problem of wind noise, but to me, this is the worst part of the system, is the windscreen. It's ridiculous. But now let's talk about some of those newer options from Rode and DJI, which kind of give the Lark a run for its money. So Rode released the wireless micro, which is very small and compact, and DJI released the Mic Mini, which is very small and very compact, and they all have pretty much the same MSRP, at least when they're not on sale. So there might be $10 to $20 difference in price range, but for the most part, you're kind of talking about spending the same amount of money on all three systems, the Hollyland, the DJI, or the Rode. I don't have the DJI or the Rode. I was able to use the Rode and like a demo thing, which was very cool, and I was very impressed with it. I haven't used the DJI, and I don't own either of those. So a lot of what I'm going off of is just tech specs and other like reviews that I've seen and listened to. A really big distinction with the Rode wireless micro is that it's only compatible with phones and mobile devices, because it's either Lightning or USB-C. So you need something to connect that to. It means it's not for your camera. Whereas the DJI Mic Mini is all of the things. It can be camera, mobile device, or phone, and you can kind of do that whole system there. So that sort of separates those two quite a bit. The DJI then being much more in line with the Hollyland, at least the combo system that I have, which is compatible with all those things as well. But the form factor and the audio quality of the Rode really are great. I wish I had one here to test out and to show you right now. If you know that you're only ever going to be using a mic system with a phone or some other kind of mobile device, then I kind of would push you towards the Rode, because it is super small, super compact. The whole thing is in this little tiny charging case, and that's it. It's like an AirPods case in your pocket. It's not something, there's no other anything to keep track of, and it works really well. And the little receiver is very similar to the Hollyland that just kind of goes right on your phone, takes up no extra space, super small, super compact. If you know that you're going to be doing a combo of things like mobile device and camera, then that's where you probably want to look at the DJI and the Hollyland, since they have a little more versatility in both of those areas. And then from there, it kind of depends, because the DJI has the one receiver and then you switch out the back part to either be a lightning connector or a USB connector or 3.5 for your camera. And you just use the one same receiver, which is very cool because you don't have to keep track of more stuff with the system. The downside is you end up with a bigger receiver that you then have to use on your phone. So if you're going to be using it with your phone a lot, you probably don't want this giant thing hanging off the side. Whereas the Hollyland's mobile receivers are super small, super compact, very similar to the Rode. So if you're going to be doing a mix of camera and phone usage with your mic system, but you're going to be leaning maybe a little more towards the phone side of things, then I think the Hollyland is the way to go. Even though there is no simple way to keep those receivers with you. You can keep them in the pouch that the whole system comes with, but it's a little clunky and messy, so don't lose those. If you're going to be using more camera stuff, then it kind of depends on, you know, whether you like the DJI or the Hollyland. You can't go wrong. They're all awesome systems. So now let's move into some sound comparisons, because you've heard me on the Hollyland for the whole video so far, but I have my 4 other 2.4 gigahertz systems here, which you can also see the difference in size on the transmitters. So this is the Saramonic Ultra, the Rode Wireless Pro, the Sennheiser Profile Wireless, and the DJI Mic 2, and you can really see the difference in size there. So the Hollyland is just going straight into my camera because that's what is easy, but the other ones I'm just going to record internally so we can hear what they sound like. So right now you're still listening to me on the Hollyland Lark M2, which is what you've heard me on for this whole video, and there's no effects and no processing. I'm not adjusting the audio on any of these systems. I just want you to hear exactly what they sound like, you know, out of the box, unprocessed. And now you're listening to me on the DJI Mic 2, positioned at the same spot, positioned on my chest right here. Some of these, if you hold them out in front of you, they sound better because it's like you're talking into a microphone, but I guess I should say people do hold them like this. This is a very realistic thing, but a lot of people do just end up clipping these to a collar or a chest. So this is a good example of how it's going to sound like, again, for most people, using them the way that most people would. And I think that's a really important thing to keep track of. So this is the DJI Mic 2, and now back to the Hollyland Lark M2. There's so many product names and numbers. This is what I sound like on the Hollyland, and this is now what I sound like on the Sennheiser Profile Wireless. This is me on the Sennheiser. When I did my whole comparison with these 4 systems, so if you're interested in any of these 4, I have a video that compares them separately. The Sennheiser's design and case and all that kind of stuff is definitely the most unique. And it's really fun, and I definitely recommend checking out that video, especially if you're curious anymore with the Sennheiser. Three out of 4 of these systems can record 32-bit float. The Sennheiser is the only one that can't. So it does internal recording, but it's not 32-bit float. And this is the Sennheiser Profile Wireless. And now back to the Hollyland Lark M2 before jumping over here to the Rode Wireless Pro. This is the Rode Wireless Pro. Rode, you know, like these kinds of systems, Rode was really at the forefront. They were the first to go down that road, you might say. And they've kind of kept the same design for the most part, other than the new wireless micro, but the same basic design across different versions of their wireless mics. This is what it's looked like. And to me, it's a little bit big, and it's looking a little bit clunky and outdated, but I do think that of all the wireless systems I've tried, the 2.4 gigahertz ones, I do think the Rode does have the best sound. So it is kind of showing its age in terms of design a little bit compared to some of the more innovative things that are coming out, but it just pure sound quality from the receiver itself, I definitely think the Rode is the winner. And now back on the Hollyland Lark M2 before jumping over to the Saramonic Ultra. So this is an Ultra, simple test of the Ultra. If you watched my video on this, what's interesting about the Saramonic is it's essentially the DJI Mic 2 for $50 cheaper. It does have IPX5 weather resistance, and the receiver does have also a little antenna you can attach onto it to extend the range just a little bit, which are very cool features. But it is very, very similar to the DJI Mic 2, and in terms of sound quality and just overall quality, I personally do prefer the DJI Mic 2, but it is $50 cheaper, which, you know, that is a big thing to be aware of if you're shopping for something like this. So even though we finished with the sound test, I'm actually on the Rode Wireless Pro using one of the lavalier microphones that comes with it. It is the only one of these systems that comes with 2 lavalier microphones, or any lavalier microphones. It's the most expensive with an MSRP of $399, but it comes with 2 lavalier microphones. And the reason for that is I want to be able to talk about the Hollyland system, and I was using it, so I needed to take it over here to show you things about it. So the charging case, you know, as you'd expect, this is kind of how all of these types of systems work. Once you put everything in here, this is what it looks like. And the transmitters are omnidirectional pickup patterns, but they do have the specific mic on the top. So it's not like they're just these orbs picking up everything there. And the receiver is incredibly small and compact, which is very nice, super lightweight, as are, of course, the transmitters themselves, super compact and lightweight. But a thing I really wanted to look at was sort of how you adjust some of the features on here, because you do have noise cancellation, which we talked about outside, and then you also have the ability to do stereo or mono and adjust your gain level a little bit. The Lark's noise cancellation is a really popular feature, and I do really like how they've implemented it. We tested it outside, but the way that it works is that on the transmitter, there's just a little yellow button, and if I push that, you'll kind of see this turns green, and that means noise cancellation is on. And then you'll also see on the receiver, since I only have one transmitter connected, that also turned green. So if I push this button, now that turns blue. Blue means that there's no noise cancellation. Green means that there is noise cancellation. So what I like about that is it's very, very easy to tell when noise cancellation is on or off, either by looking at the transmitter or the receiver itself. This is something that's a little weird, maybe for my system, I'm not sure. According to the documentation, when you're using the Lark system with one of the small mobile receivers, the noise cancellation affects the whole system all at once. So you turn it on one transmitter, it's gonna turn on both transmitters. There's even a button here you can turn it on, it'll turn it on both transmitters. So that's how that works. When you're using the camera setup like this receiver here, according to the documentation, it's supposed to let you do individual transmitters. So only one could have noise cancellation, one not. But as you can kind of see here, if I push the button on mine, it changes both of them at the same time. So for me, I haven't been able to get that to work. It's either noise cancellation is on for the whole system or off for the whole system. I honestly don't know if that's a huge deal, because I don't know that there's a situation where these 2 transmitters would be in such different environments that you would need noise cancellation on one and not the other, but it's just something to be aware of. It's something I found that's like kind of an inconsistency in what's listed in the manual versus what I'm experiencing in real life. But otherwise, I think they've done a great job of implementing noise cancellation and especially making it super simple. Some of the other systems I have noise cancellation, but you kind of can't tell when it's turned on, and I've definitely made videos where I didn't realize it was turned on, I didn't need it turned on. And that's the thing about noise cancellation, especially if you're new to these kinds of things, is what noise cancellation does is it tries to get rid of background noise and focus only on the speaker's voice. And so you might think, if I have an option to just push a button and do that, shouldn't I just do that all the time? Like, why not just cover my bases no matter what? Even if I'm inside, maybe I'm in an echoey room or something where it's just not super sound treated, why not just turn on noise cancellation all the time, have my voice be the thing that stands out the most? And the reason for that is because noise cancellation usually does, on every system, degrade the audio quality at least a little bit. So it's not the most pleasant sound, but it is hopefully better than the background noise. And that's where noise cancellation comes into play. If you don't need it, the default sound of whatever system you're using is probably going to be the best. You want to use noise cancellation when even the degradation of the audio quality is still going to be better than what it would sound like with just, all the background noise and all the chaos happening. So it's kind of that sweet spot there, which means you probably want it off most of the time, unless you know for sure you need it. You have a couple other controls on the receiver as well, specifically gain, where you can sort of do low, medium, and high. I usually keep mine on medium, and then in my Sony cameras, I keep the volume at about 6. You typically want to keep your camera's gain as low as possible, and this probably in the middle to try to get a clean signal. And the other thing you can do is on the receiver, you can change it from stereo to mono mode. So right now you can kind of see these lights down here are green, and if I push this button, they turn blue, the volume indicator lights. Blue means stereo and green means mono. Stereo means you're going to hear things on the left and right side of the speakers, so it's probably not something you want for voice. If you're trying to record environments, if you're trying to record music, if you're trying to really capture ambiance, then stereo is a good mode to do. If you're doing spoken word, then keeping it in green for mono is the way to go, because that means it's just gonna sound the same on the left and right, and it's not gonna sound like I'm sneaking up behind you or something while you're listening to the recording. So now that we've covered all that, I do want to share just sort of some other thoughts I have about the Lark M2 in no particular order. First being that it's tiny. I know this is one of the first things I said, but it is hard to explain how tiny and lightweight these things are. You kind of have to experience it in person. I didn't really think it could be that different from like the other systems that I've been using, but there's a big difference, a little difference that makes a big difference. And that does tie into the build quality. So the build quality of the system is definitely a bit plasticky. It doesn't feel fragile. It doesn't feel like a piece of junk or anything, but it doesn't feel as like premium as something like the DJI Mic 2 does, which is sort of, I feel like, my high bar for a very premium feeling 2.4 gigahertz system. But it doesn't feel disappointing for the price. So if you feel like, oh, this is kind of plasticky and cheap and lightweight, and then you look at everything you get for the price, to me, that makes up for it. But also, that lightweight build, I think, really is important because, again, I can wear this transmitter on a really lightweight shirt, and it's not pulling and stretching the shirt. It's not uncomfortable. I can totally actually just forget that I even have this here. And that is exactly one of the huge strengths of this system, is how lightweight and simple it is. And, you know, you kind of need to use lightweight materials in order to make that happen. And that ties in again to how discreet the system can be. I switched to my other transmitter that has the sticker on it. So you see the white outline on my shirt because it's white on a black shirt, but the transmitter itself is pretty much all black. And these can be very, very discreet and very, very compact, which is just absolutely awesome. And they're just so easy to use. And I really do appreciate that Hollyland, you know, companies really like their branding, and I appreciate that they just provide you with a way to either like really make it stand out or try to make it more discreet, even if that means covering up their own logo and their own branding. I haven't seen any other companies willing to do that just straight out of the box. So a lot of respect to Hollyland for that. I do want to touch on the mobile functionality a little bit because I do think that these receivers are absolutely awesome. They just clip right in there, and then they are... So the other thing is that they don't work with every case. I'm using an OtterBox case on my iPhone 14 here, and obviously it doesn't work. If I clip it there, then this is in very, very strong, very sturdy. So depending on your case, you might need to take your phone out of the case to use it. But this is very compact and very, very discreet. I have been using a lot the DJI Mic 2's receiver because you can do the same thing. You can just pop in a lightning adapter and then connect this to your phone. But this is not an easy thing to put in your pocket. This is not an easy thing. This is something feels very delicate. It works great, but it's just not absolutely ideal. And even the new DJI Mic Mini still has a bigger receiver that goes into the phone compared to something like this. This is much more similar to what the Rode Wireless Micro does, but it's very cool that it came with this other big system. So I really do absolutely love the way they've done this, and they've included a pass-through power thing. So I'm plugged into Lightning, but there's a USB-C port here, and this will let me power the phone. So I plug in USB-C, my Lightning iPhone will be charged and powered by USB-C through here. And the same is true for the USB-C receiver as well. There's a USB port on there, so you can power whatever device you're connecting, even though you have this connected, which is great because most tablets and phones only have one port, and it's important not to deny the ability to power up your device, right? So these are really, really cool. I like them a lot, even though they don't necessarily fit with every phone case, so it kind of depends on what you're using. And what's also really cool about these receivers is that they do not take battery power. They are powered by the device they're connected to, so you don't need to charge these or do anything with them other than not lose them. That's very important, but otherwise they just work, and it's not like another part of the system that you have to keep charged or anything like that. Now, the last thing I want to touch on, you probably knew this was coming, built-in non-replaceable batteries. This comes up pretty much every time I talk about one of these 2.4 gigahertz systems, but I do have to say, in the case of the Lark, I'm a bit more understanding about them not using replaceable batteries because the transmitters themselves are so small and so tiny that built-in batteries make sense. And looking at other electronics like my phone that I just had out a minute ago, I really wish this had a replaceable battery. This thing is really big. Like, it would be really nice to be able to replace the battery easily without voiding warranties and stuff. But other devices, things like AirPods, small Bluetooth headphones, they're so ridiculously small that I don't think it's practical to have an easily replaceable battery in there. So I kind of get that. And the Hollyland system kind of falls in line with that, where it's so small that I can understand that it's not practical to have a replaceable battery. You might be like me and have the same thought. If I take off the magnet, you see the silver part on the back of the transmitter, it kind of looks like a button battery. So I was like, why not just use one of those like CR2032 or whatever batteries, and you could pop that in there and make it really changeable, almost like an AirTag or something like that. And at first, that seemed like it made sense. The more I thought about it, the more I understood why they didn't do that. I think that realistically, there just aren't button batteries small enough to fit in here with all the other electronics while also providing a decent amount of power. They would basically need to be changed so often that it becomes so expensive and so wasteful and just really annoying. So in theory, if a system like this can last 3 to 4 years before the battery life starts decreasing significantly, it would actually be more wasteful to have replaceable batteries because you'd be going through so much more of them than just the higher quality built-in battery. And then you use it as long as possible and then hopefully send it to an electronics recycling facility once the battery has reached the end of its life. But overall, I really am super impressed with the Hollyland. I think Hollyland landed on the mark with the Lark. That's the only words I can think of that rhyme with this. And even though there are those newer options from DJI and Rode that do make this decision a little bit less clear in the past, up until those came out, it was like if you wanted something super small and compact, this was kind of the only option. And now there are other options from other really good companies as well. So it's a little tricky. We kind of mentioned it here. Each system has strengths and weaknesses, pros and cons, but I still think the Hollyland is a really strong contender, especially when you look at the audio quality and that full combo kit like the one that I have, where you have the camera system, the lightning system, and the USB connector, and you're able to find those on sale. Then Hollyland definitely wins, especially for the price. And speaking of things that win for the price, thank you to everyone who helped support my channel via YouTube channel memberships. And I did recently make that video that compares 4 super popular high-end wireless mic systems. So if you're looking for something that has a few more advanced features than the Hollyland, check out this video right here.